Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Journey to Greatness, day 307 of 365 with David McDonald, the GOAT. All right. So we're going to get into our meditation routine here. I will see you guys on the other side. Liz, good morning. Howdy. Alrighty, everybody, welcome back. We are going to jump into our reading routine. Hey, Auntie. Good morning. Good morning. Happy Friday. All right, my friends, welcome back. So, we just finished our reading routine and now we're getting into our journaling routine. So, I will see you all on the other side here shortly. All right, my friends, welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. So we just finished our journaling routine. And normally, no, let's go ahead and knock this out. So the last time we spoke, we were in limbo between the Pharaoh of Egypt letting the people of Israel who were slaves of Egypt go. And the Lord or God had just put a number of plagues on Egypt and on the king to show his power to the Pharaoh, to let the Pharaoh know, hey, you need to let the people of Israel go and be free. So the 10th plague was the death of the firstborn of every animal, of every person, everyone in Egypt, other than people of Israel. And so when the morning of, everybody woke up, everybody was crying, everybody was in sorrow because all of their firstborns had been dead. So there's dead bodies and animals all over Egypt. And then we were getting into the Exodus. The Egyptians were urgent with the people to send them out of the land in haste. This happens after the consecration of, or excuse me, the 10th plague, the death of the firstborn. Actually, let me read that one first, just so we can lead into the Exodus, which just means the exit. So the exit of the Israel people from Egypt. At midnight, the Lord struck down all of the firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh, who sat on his throne, to the firstborn of the captive, who was in the dungeon. And all the firstborn of the livestock. And Pharaoh rose up in the night, he and all his servants and all the Egyptians, and there was a great cry in Egypt, for there was not a house where someone was not dead. Then he summoned Moses and Aaron by night and said, "Up, go out from among my people, both you and the people of Israel, and go serve the Lord as you have said. Take your flocks and your herds, and you have as you have said, and be gone, and bless me also." So at this time, if anybody's just catching up, there's a number of plagues. There's 10 plagues that they've experienced. And so at this point in time, they're kind of like fed up. The Egyptians are. They're like, nope, you guys then killed every one of our firstborns, and this isn't going to work for us. We're going to set you guys free. So the Egyptians were urgent with the people to send them out of the land with haste, for they said, "We shall all be dead." So the people took their dough before it was leavened. And I don't know what that word means, actually. Leavened. Um, their netting bowls being bound up in their cloaks on their shoulders. The people of Israel had also done as Moses told them, for they had asked the Egyptians for silver and gold, jewelry, and for clothing. And the Lord had given the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, so that they let them have what they asked. Thus they plundered the Egyptians, and the people of Israel journeyed from Ramses to Succoth, about 600,000 men. Around about 600,000 men on foot, besides women and children, and mixed multitude also went with them, and very much livestock, both flocks and herds. And they baked cakes of the dough that they had brought out of Egypt, for it was not leavened or leavened. I don't know how to say that word either. Because they were thrust out of Egypt and could not wait, nor had they prepared any provisions for themselves. The time that the people of Israel lived in Egypt was 430 years. So they had been in slavery for 430 years, people to Egyptians. At the end of the 430, on that very day, all the hosts of the Lord went out from the land of Egypt. It was a night of watching by the Lord to bring them out of the land of Egypt. So this same night is a night of watching kept the Lord by the people of Israel throughout their generations. Huge move, huge move. So institution of the Passover. And the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, this is the statute of the Passover. No foreigner shall eat of it. But every slave that is bought for money may eat of it after you have circumcised him. No foreigner or hired worker may eat of it. It shall be eaten in one house. You shall not take any of the flesh outside of the house, and you shall not break any of its bones. All of the congregation of Israel shall keep it. If a stranger shall sojourn with you and would keep the Passover to the Lord, let all of his males be circumcised. Then he may come near and keep it. He shall be as a native to the land, but no uncircumcised person shall eat it. There shall be one law for the native and for the stranger who sojourns among you. All the people of Israel did just as the Lord commanded Moses and Aaron. And on that very day, the Lord brought the people of Israel out of the land of Egypt by their hosts. The Passover I'm going to jump back to a page before. So you're probably wondering, what is the Passover? Because this section of the book is called the institution of Passover. So let me jump back here a little bit. So God told Moses and Aaron, tell all the congregation of Israel that on the 10th day of this month, which already came because everybody in Egypt died, that was the 10th plague. One plague per day. So on the 10th day of this month, every man shall take a lamb according to their father's houses, a lamb for a household. And if the household is too small for a lamb, then he and his nearest neighbor shall take according to the number of persons. According to each can eat, you shall make your count for the lamb. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male, a year old. You may take it from the sheep or from the goats, and you shall keep it until the 14th day of this month, when the whole assembly of the congregation shall kill their lambs at twilight. So that's the consecration. That is the institution of the Passover. So that is the Passover essentially. It is taking a lamb, one for each family, and then on the 14th day eating it, killing it. So consecration of the firstborn. The Lord said to Moses, consecrate to me all of the firstborn, whatever is the first to open the womb among the people of Israel, both of man and beast is mine. The feast, unleavened bread. So there's kind of a lot going on here. I mean, but in the general sense, I guess the main thing to pay attention to here is that the 10th plague is what freed the Israel people from the land of Egypt. We will continue. Every firstborn of a donkey you shall redeem with a lamb, or if you will not redeem, you shall break its neck. Every firstborn of man among your sons you shall redeem, and when in time you come, your sons ask you, what does this mean? You shall say, by a strong hand the Lord brought us out of Egypt from the house of slavery. So we have pillars of cloud and fire. And for our next chapter here, when Pharaoh let the people go, God did not lead them by way of the land of the Philistines, although that was near. For God said, lest the people change their minds when they see war and return to Egypt. But God led the people around by the way of the wilderness toward the Red Sea, and the people of Israel went up out of the land of Egypt, equipped for battle. Moses took the bones of Joseph with him, for for Joseph had made the sons of Israel solemnly swear, God will surely visit you, and you will carry up my bones with you from here. And there moved on from Succoth and encamped at Etham, on the edge of the wilderness. And the Lord went before them by day in the pillar of the cloud to lead them along the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light, that they might travel by day and by night. The pillar of cloud by day and the pillar of fire by night did not depart from before the people. So now we get to the Red Sea. And at the Red Sea, sure enough, the king of Egypt and his lords and his servants come to the great realization that why in the world did we let the Israel people leave our land? And why do we not have them enslaved still? So what do you think happened? Exactly. The Pharaoh gathered hundreds of people, soldiers, chariots, um, weapons, everything. They went for war and they hunted down the Israel people. Where they came to the Red Sea. The Egyptians came to the Red Sea, hunting to enslave these Israel people again, bring them back into Egypt and back into slavery, even though on many occasions the Pharaoh said, hey, I'm gonna let your people go. I'm gonna let your people go to Moses and Aaron, who were sent by the Lord to deliver the message of the Lord, to let the people of Israel know that they are no longer going to be enslaved. And they sure enough tried to show up at the Red Sea, and the Lord said, hey, the people, this was what's really interesting. And I'm reading through this book, right? There's a section that says, the people of Israel looked up and saw the Egyptians approaching them and asked Moses, why have you led us to die here in the wilderness? Why have you led us here when we could have just been slaves in Egypt and just lived our lives there, and been perfectly fine, alive, not dead? And essentially what ended up happening is, you have doubt, and that's really interesting to read about, because nowadays it's kind of like there are no doubts, when it comes to understanding, or believing that everything will happen, as we say it will, essentially, with the power of God and the power of the universe backing behind us. But it's interesting that same doubt is the type of doubt that I see, on a daily basis when I'm talking to people, that sometimes arises in me, that I have to, pull back on, or I have to redefine in my own rightful mind. And I think it's funny that when things hit the fan, it's like deep down internally, people are like, yeah, hoorah, let's go. But then at the end of the day, if stuff hits the fan, they're like, oh my gosh, like, what have you led me to? And therefore don't take responsibility for what they have made the decision to do, which is very interesting. But the thing is we're always protected. I always say that. So therefore we will never fail. The remarkable will always happen. The miraculous will always happen. But the only caveat is you have to believe with your fullest heart. And sure enough, the people looked at Moses and said, why have you led us here to die? And then Moses, looked to the Lord and said, hey, like, help me out. And the Lord said, don't worry. He said, I'm going to part the Red Sea so that the people of Israel can walk on dry land and cross the Red Sea. He said, extend your wand over the water and watch it depart. So as the Egyptians were approaching, getting closer and closer to the people of Israel on their journey, escaping slavery, Moses stretched out his arm and parted the Red Sea, and the people of Israel walked down on dry land, and on their right there was water, all the way up past their heads, and on their left there was water on the left all the way past their heads, just a wall of water circling them. And then sure enough, behind them you have the Egyptians coming close in behind, and the people of Israel treading through this sand or this dirt, and they're making their way to the other side to cross the Red Sea. And they're obviously afraid, they're obviously concerned, and then boom, the Lord pretty much closes the sea. He closes the sea, and the sea, then he closes the sea only on the Egyptians half of where they're in, and it kills all of the Egyptians that were there that day. And the Lord just was, he told Moses, he said, today is the day that I show the Pharaoh and his people how powerful I truly am. Today is the day that I show the people of Israel that they will be free, and that I will keep my word of freedom to them. And sure enough, that's what happened. So, long story short, that is where we will conclude today. The people of Israel made a song for Moses, and now we are getting into a section that's going to be called "Bitter Made Sweet," bread from heaven, and we're now getting into the journey of the people of Israel and how they're moving through the land and how they're getting to their next destination. Remind you, there's 600,000 people, all journeying to one place. And so they're going to need food. They're going to need water. And in the next chapters or next sections of the book, they're going to start addressing like how the blessings of the Lord, started to come at different times when they most needed it. And and how he always provided for them. Now, again, I made this disclaimer in the beginning of the book, before we started reading the Bible. We're not pushing anything down anybody's throats, but I should say, and the thing that we're doing here most is observing. Anybody out there who's interpreting and digesting the information is perfectly onto them. But what I'm seeing here as a continuous theme is God is guaranteeing our success. God is guaranteeing our happiness and our less sufferance. The universe is guaranteeing that to us, and that is here for us to grab. And I keep hearing it in so many different variations, and it comes back to that same definition that I then verbally vocalize to everyone on camera. And I think that that's really powerful, like super powerful stuff. And he's telling us, like, you guys, don't worry. Things could be a lot worse. Don't worry. Things could be a lot worse. And so I think that should give us confidence as we move through our lives on a daily basis, just to know that everything is going to be okay, even when it seems like it's not. Everything that our reality is telling us is not our reality if we don't choose it to be. We have that power. We have that choice. And God will support us. The universe will support us in any which way that definition is created by us. So that definition being our reality. So with that being said, thank you to everybody who jumped on the messenger board this morning. Good morning. I'm happy to have you. Good morning. Thank you for being here. Everybody who's at home watching on camera, thank you so much. I greatly appreciate this love and support as always. I will see you all tomorrow at 5 a.m. And I hope you all have the best day of your lives today. Happy Friday. Peace.